Are you a narcissist? 5. Stoic tests for self-reflection. You're standing alone in a quiet room, staring into a mirror. But this isn't the polished glass on your bathroom wall. This is the mirror of your mind, the one that reflects not just your face, but your soul. What do you see? A man of resilience, a figure of quiet strength, or something else? A shadow cast by pride, a glint of arrogance, flickering in the depths? Today, I'm not here to point fingers or heap shame upon you. I'm here to ask a single, piercing question that might just shift the ground beneath your feet. Are you a narcissist? Stay with me, because in the moments ahead, we're going to embark on a journey, a raw, unflinching exploration of the self. We'll use 5 Stoic tests, forged in the fires of logic and tempered by the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, to peel back the layers of who you are. These aren't mere questions, they're blades, cutting through the illusions we wrap ourselves in. And by the time we reach the end, you won't just know the truth. You'll hold in your hands a path to conquer it, a way to rise above the petty chains of ego and step into a life of real strength. Are you ready to face yourself? Let's dive in. We live in a world drowning in self-obsession. Scroll through your phone, and what do you see? Selfies flood the feeds, captions scream for attention, and every post seems to shout, "Look at me." It's a circus of self-importance, a parade of egos marching louder with every like, every share, every nod of approval. But beneath the noise, there's a quiet truth the ancient Stoics understood. A truth that cuts through the clamor like a blade through silk. The human soul is a battlefield. On one side stands reason, calm and unyielding. On the other rages passion, wild and unchecked. And in the middle lies the greatest foe of all, our own inflated sense of self, what we now call narcissism. This isn't a new problem. It's as old as humanity itself. The Stoics, men like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, saw it clearly. They didn't have hashtags or personality quizzes, but they had something sharper, a philosophy built on logic, on observing the world and the heart with cold, clear eyes. They ask questions that echo through the centuries. What can you control? What is your true nature? How do you align yourself with the vast, indifferent universe? Narcissism, they'd argue, isn't just a quirk. It's a rebellion against reality, a refusal to see ourselves as we are, small, flawed, and yet capable of greatness through virtue. I'm drawn to Stoicism not because it's some dusty relic of the past, but because it's alive, practical, a system that demands you face the world and yourself with courage. Today, we're going to wield 5 tests inspired by the modern narcissistic personality inventory, but rooted deep in Stoic principles, to confront a question that haunts us all. Are we living in harmony with the truth, or are we shackled to the mirror of our own delusions? This isn't about guilt, it's about liberation. The Stoics believed that knowing the truth, no matter how bitter, is the first step to freedom. So let's step into the fray. The 5 Stoic tests, a journey into the self-test. 1. Are you arrogant? Look within. Let not either the peculiar quality or worth of anything draw you aside. Marcus Aurelius. Let's start with the simplest question, the one that strikes at the root of narcissism. Do you walk through life with your chin tilted just a little too high? Do you glance at the people around you, Your co-workers hunched over their desks, your friends laughing over beers, the stranger fumbling with his keys, and think, I'm better than them? Not just better at something specific, like throwing a punch or balancing a budget, but better in some vague, cosmic sense. Smarter, stronger, more deserving? This is where narcissism begins. In the quiet conviction that you're a cut above the herd. It's a seductive lie, one that whispers in your ear when you ace a deal or outtalk a rival. But the Stoics saw through it. They looked at the world and saw a grand, interconnected web, a cosmos where every star, every stone, every soul plays its part. Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled an empire stretching from the sands of Egypt to the forests of Gaul, could have bought into that lie. He had every reason to. Power, wealth, legions at his command. Yet he sat alone at night and wrote, "You're a fragment of the universe. Don't forget your place." Think about that. A fragment, not the center, not the crown, just a piece, no more or less vital than the next. Logic backs this up. What makes you inherently superior? Your brain? A gift of nature, your strength, the luck of the draw, your victories, built on 1,000 unseen hands, teachers, parents, strangers who paved the road you walk. Arrogance isn't confidence, it's blindness. It's the refusal to see the threads that tie us all together. So, pause for a moment, rewind the tape of your day. Did you smirk when your coworker stumbled over a presentation? Did you nod to yourself when you passed a homeless man, thinking, that'd never be me? Did you catch that little glow of pride when you outdid someone, not because you earned it, but because you expected it? If you did, don't flinch. We're just getting started, and there's a way out of this maze. So how did you fare on that first test? Did arrogance sneak up on you? Here's a challenge. Stick with me through the next 4 tests and see if your ego's louder than you think. Want more raw Stoic insights like this? Subscribe to the Stoic Beacon. Hit that button below and let's dig deeper together. Test 2. Do you fear criticism? You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. Now let's turn the lens a little sharper. Picture this scene. You're at work or maybe with friends, and someone dares to poke a hole in your armor. Your boss says your report missed the mark. Your buddy teases that your golf swing's gone soft. Your spouse mentions, casually, that you've been distracted lately. What's your gut reaction? Do you feel a flush of heat creeping up your neck? Do you snap back with a quick, well, what do you know? Or do you swallow it down, only to replay the moment later, crafting a dozen defenses in your head? Narcissists don't just dislike criticism, they dread it. It's a crack in the perfect statue they've carved of themselves, a threat to the pedestal they've climbed atop. But the Stoics? They didn't just tolerate criticism, they sought it out, like a blacksmith seeks the hammer. To them, every jab, every critique was a chance to refine their soul, to bring their actions closer to reason. Marcus faced it daily. Senators whispering about his policies, soldiers grumbling about his strategies. He could have silenced them with a word. Instead, he wrote, "If anyone can refute me, show me I'm wrong, I'll gladly change. It's the truth I'm after." That's not weakness, that's iron. It's the logic of a man who knows the world doesn't bend to his whims, who knows his mind is the only fortress he can truly build. Criticism stings, of course it does. We're human, not statues. But the narcissist turns that sting into a wound. a personal attack, the Stoic turns it into a tool. So let's test it. Think back to the last time someone called you out. Maybe it was a week ago, maybe yesterday. Did you listen, weigh their words and ask, could they be right? Or did you dig in, armor up, and fire back? Did you feel that twist in your gut, that need to prove them wrong? If you did, your ego's got a louder voice than you might like. But don't worry, we've got 3 tests left, and the path is still wide open. Test 3. Do you care about others? What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears. Seneca. This one's tougher because it asks you to step outside yourself. Imagine you're sitting across from a friend. He's telling you about a rough patch, lost a job, fought with his kid, can't sleep. What do? Do you lean in, hear the cracks in his voice, feel the weight he's carrying? Or do you nod, half listening, waiting for your chance to jump in with, yeah, I get it, last week I had this thing? Narcissism feeds on a cold core, a lack of empathy. It's not that narcissists can't feel. It's that they don't bother, not unless it reflects back on them. The Stoics saw this as a betrayal of our nature. To them, humanity isn't a collection of lone wolves. It's a single organism, pulsing with shared life. Marcus put it this way: what injures the hive, injures the bee. Seneca took it further, reminding us that life's too vast, too broken, to waste tears on just ourselves. This isn't mushy idealism. It's logic, pure and simple. If we're all bound by the same thread, born struggling, dying, then your pain and mine aren't so different. A narcissist might hear a sob story and think, how does this affect me? A Stoic hears it and thinks, how can I help? Not out of pity, but out of duty to the whole. Test yourself here. Rewind to a moment someone opened up to you. Maybe your sister vented about her divorce, or a co-worker admitted he's drowning in stress. Did you sit with them? Really sit? Or did you pivot the convo back to your own orbit? Did you feel their struggle? Or did you just see a stage for your own lines? If empathy feels like a chore, narcissism might be the wall between you and the world. Here's a quick Stoic tip. Next time someone vents to you, try this. Count to 3 before replying. It forces you to listen, not just react. Small moves like that build real strength. Loving these practical hacks? Subscribe to the Stoic Beacon below and stick around. We've got 2 more tests to crack. Test 4. Do you crave attention? How much time he gains? Who does not look to see what his neighbor says, or does, or thinks? Marcus Aurelius. Let's shift gears. Picture yourself at a party. The room's buzzing. Glasses clink. Laughter rises. Stories bounce from corner to corner. Where are you? Are you the guy in the middle? Voice a little louder, gestures a little wider, soaking up every glance? Do you feel a rush when heads turn your way, a pang when they don't? Do you post a thought online and check back 10 times for likes, or step into a meeting itching to drop the line that'll make them all nod? Narcissists don't just enjoy attention, they crave it, need it, like a plant starved for sun. It's their fuel, their proof of existence. The Stoics called this a fool's game. Marcus, a man who could have filled amphitheaters with adoring crowds, turned his back on it. Be satisfied with your own integrity, he wrote, sitting in a tent while his empire roared around him. Why chase shadows when the real prize, your own character, sits within reach? Logic tears this apart. If your worth hangs on others' applause, you're not free. You're a beggar, scrabbling for scraps of validation. True strength doesn't need a spotlight. It stands in the dark, steady, and sure. So ask yourself, when you speak, is it to share truth or to be seen? When you act, is it for the deed or the praise? If attention's your drug, your ego's the dealer. Test 5. Do you control everything? You have control over your own actions, but not over the fruits of them. Epictetus. Last one. And it's a heavy hitter. Do you feel a fire in your chest when things don't go your way? Do you clench your fists when a plan crumbles, when a friend won't bend, when the world spins out of your grasp? Narcissists see life as a script. They're the director, the star, the whole damn show. Everyone else, just extras, meant to follow cues. The Stoics drew a different line. Epictetus, a slave turned sage, nailed it. You control your choices, your reactions, nothing more. Marcus lived it, facing wars he couldn't win, plagues he couldn't stop, betrayals he couldn't foresee. The universe is change, he wrote. Our life is what our thoughts make it. That's not resignation, that's power, the kind that comes from letting go. Think back. Maybe your kid ignored your advice, or traffic snarled your perfect morning, or a deal fell through despite your best pitch. Did you rage, curse, try to force it back into shape? Or did you breathe, adapt, move on? If you're gripping life too tight, narcissism's the rope around your neck. Let's take a breather from the tests and step into some stories, moments that breathe life into these ideas, that show them in flesh and blood. 5 tests down, feeling the weight yet? Here's the payoff. Stick with the Stoic beacon, and you'll get tools to master your mind, not just spot its flaws. Hit subscribe below and keep watching. The stories coming up will show you how real men turned weakness into power. Story 1. The Emperor's Mirror. It's 170 AD. Marcus Aurelius sits in a tent on the edge of the Danube, the wind howling through the flaps. His legions are battered, Germans press from the north, disease gnaws at his men, and rumors swirl of a traitor in his ranks. He's tired, bone-deep tired, the kind that seeps into your marrow. A lesser man might have roared, summoned his generals, demanded heads on pikes to soothe his bruised pride. But Marcus doesn't. He lights a lamp, pulls out a tattered scroll and writes, "If it's endurable, endure it. Don't complain." He thinks of his mentor, Antoninus, who taught him restraint. He thinks of Rome, a city he'll never rule from a throne of ego. And he asks himself a question that echoes through time. Am I the leader they need, or the tyrant I fear becoming? That night, he doesn't lash out. He reflects, he plans, he endures, and in that quiet choice, he saves an empire, not with swords, but with the strength to see himself clearly. What about you? When the world tests you, do you break or do you build? Story 2. The Craftsman's Pride. Shift back further to Athens, 300 BC. A carpenter named Damon works in a sunlit shop, his hands rough from years of shaping olive wood. His tables are the talk of the agora, smooth, sturdy, the kind you pass down for generations. He knows it too. You can see it in the way he polishes each leg, the way he nods when buyers rave. Then, one spring, a younger craftsman, Nikos, sets up nearby. Nikos builds a chair, curved, elegant, light as a feather. The crowd shifts, murmurs turn, and Damon's orders dry up. He feels it like a punch. His chest tightens, his jaw clenches. He starts muttering. Nikos stole his design, used cheap tricks, doesn't deserve the praise. He brags louder, shows off harder, but the buyers don't come back. One evening, an old friend, a Stoic named Cleon, finds him sanding a plank with fury. "Damon," Cleon says, "your skill isn't lessened by his chair. Why let it carve a hole in your piece?" Damon stops. The words sink in. He thinks of his father, who taught him the craft, who never cared for fame. The next day, he doesn't curse Nikos. He builds a table, better than before, not for the crowd, but for the work itself. The joy creeps back, quiet and pure. Pride nearly stole it. Letting go gave it back. Where's your Nikos? What rival or failure has you shouting when you could be building? Thanks for sticking with me this far. Damon's story hits hard, doesn't it? We're a community here at the Stoic Beacon, all about facing the tough stuff together. Subscribe below and join us. Tell me in the comments, what's your Nikos moment? Let's keep this going. Story 3. The Man Who Listened. Fast forward to now. John's a 45-year-old exec in Chicago, all sharp suits and sharper ambition. He's climbed the ladder by talking over people. Meetings are his stage, ideas are his props. Colleagues roll their eyes, but he doesn't care. The bonuses keep coming. Then Sarah joins the team, a 22-year-old intern with a soft voice and a knack for details. One day, a project's tanking. Deadlines missed, clients pissed. John's ready to bark orders, but Sarah pipes up, "What if we tweak the timeline here?" It's simple, obvious, brilliant. John's first instinct? Take the credit. Spin it as his brainstorm. It'd be easy, everyone expects it, but something stops him. Maybe it's exhaustion. Maybe it's the way Sarah's hands shake as she speaks. He nods, says, "Good call, Sarah," and pitches it to the boss with her name attached. The room shifts. People look at him differently. Later, over coffee, he tells me, "I'd been deaf to everyone, and it nearly cost me the one thing I could have learned." John's not a saint now, but that moment cracked his shell. Listening did what shouting never could. Who's your Sarah? Who's speaking while you're too busy shining? Evaluation. Facing the truth, all right? Let's bring it home. Grab a mental pencil and tally your score. For every yes you nodded. 2. Arrogance, fear of criticism, lack of empathy, craving attention, need for control. Give yourself a point. No half measures, no excuses, just the raw count. 0-1. Your ego's a whisper, a faint breeze against the steady wall of your reason. You're on solid ground, but don't get smug. Keep sharpening that blade. 2-3. The shadow's there, creeping at the edges. It's not running the show yet, but it's knocking. Time to push back before it settles in. 4-5. The narcissist inside you's shouting, loud and proud. But here's the kicker. You're not damned. You're awake. You're here, facing it, and that's half the battle won. The Stoics didn't waste time on blame. They built ladders out of ruins. If your score's high, don't duck your head. Lift it. Marcus wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That sting you feel? It's not a wound. It's a map. Narcissism isn't your prison. It's your teacher, pointing you toward the work ahead. So what now? You've seen the cracks? How do you mend them? The Stoics didn't just diagnose, they prescribed. Here's their toolkit, simple but steel strong. 1. Reflect daily. Every night, carve out 5 minutes. Grab a pen, a scrap of paper, anything. Ask, what did I do well today? Where did I stumble? Marcus scratched these thoughts on scrolls while cannons roared outside his tent. You can do it while the TV hums. It's not about perfection. It's about seeing. 2. Practice humility. Next time someone praises you, deflect it. Thanks, but it was luck or team effort. When they blame you, take it. Fair point. I'll fix it. Marcus called himself dust. You're no king either. 3. Focus on what you control. Stop wrestling the universe. Your kid won't listen? Your boss won't budge? Let it go. Shape your thoughts, your next step. That's your domain. 4. Meditate on the whole. Close your eyes. Picture humanity as one beating heart. The guy who cut you off in traffic, the cashier who smiled. They're you, you're them. Their wins lift you. Their falls pull you down. Act like it. These aren't lofty dreams, they're steps. Pick one. Start tonight. The Stoics didn't promise a quick fix. They promised a forge, a way to hammer yourself into something stronger. Picture a lone flame cutting through the darkness. It doesn't shout about its light, doesn't waver when another spark ignites nearby. It burns, steady, silent, relentless, doing exactly what it was meant to do. That's the Stoic life, gentlemen. A quiet strength, a virtue that stands firm against the howling winds of ego and the tempests of others' judgments. You've walked this path with me today. You've faced the 5 tests head-on, stared into the stories, and seen the raw truth they reflect back. Now, the flame's in your hands. So what's it going to be? Will you let narcissism fester inside you, a slow poison eating at your peace? Or will you crush it, step by gritty step, and let your light blaze stronger for it? The Stoics didn't hand you a cushy pillow. They gave you a blade, a shield, a shot at real power. Grab it. Start right now. Here's the deal. If you're serious about mastering yourself, about living like a man who doesn't bend to every whim or whisper, hit that subscribe button below and join the Stoic Beacon. We're not here for fluff. We're here to forge something tougher, something lasting. Drop a comment too. Which test slammed you hardest? Which story's still ringing in your skull? Let's fan this fire together. Your move.